Hello there everybody and welcome back to Movie Squirm. Today I'm going to be reviewing King on Screen, which is a documentary directed by Daphne Baywa, and this takes a look at the movie adaptations of the famous horror writer Stephen King. After watching Pennywise, the story of it, and more recently Never Sleep Again, the Elm Street Legacy, I have suddenly acquired a taste for horror documentaries or just movie documentaries in general, really. And I definitely wanted to check this one out because I love watching Stephen King films. I haven't seen them all, far from it, but I'm always interested in checking them out, new or old. I recently just watched The Boogeyman. I was definitely going to cinema for that. And some of my favourite films are Stephen King movies like Misery, Green Mile and stuff. So yeah, I definitely wanted to see this. And I've even got this book here, Stephen King at the Movies, which goes over all his TV work and his movie adaptations up to the year 2020. And I've always found movies in this book that I can put on my watch list. So I was hoping this documentary could give me a bit more insight into the ones I haven't seen and definitely the ones that I have seen. And this documentary definitely did get me interested in a few more titles, most notably Cujo. Yeah, shamelessly never seen that movie. But one that I didn't think I'd really want to watch was the TV series of The Shining, because The Shining is one of my favourite movies of all time. And I always thought this didn't look very good. I mean, I would have given it a shot if someone put it in front of me, but after watching this documentary, I definitely want to give it a go now. It may be terrible, I don't know, but seeing the backstory of why this was made, we all know that Stephen King didn't like Kubrick's style and the way he made The Shining, even though it is adored by everyone, because he wanted more his vision of the book on screen, and Mick Gatiss agreed to do that with Stephen King. So that definitely got me more interested in wanting to watch the miniseries of The Shining, just knowing how it was all put together. And The Shining movie / TV series and The Green Mile were definitely the biggest parts of this documentary. I mean, they were like mini documentaries inside this documentary, which I was happy about, because these are two of my favourite movies of all time, and just seeing all the backstory and all the info was fascinating to me. It really was. I'd never really seen anything on how The Green Mile was put together, so I was just like watching this go, wow. And most of the people that are interviewed in this documentary are directors of his work, most notably Frank Darabont. I mean, he is in this documentary quite a lot, and he goes on to explain how he came to make The Green Mile, because he'd already made The Shawshank and he wrote these little mini segments of The Green Mile. If you remember correctly, they were released in 5 different parts. And he read the first part and instantly wanted to make The Green Mile. And he said, "Are you going to tell me the rest?" And Stephen King said, "No, you're going to have to wait like everyone else, but you can direct this movie for me." And it's weird to me that decisions are just made like that between a little conversation, because they know each other. And some of the directors here are on their own little bubble, like Mick Gatiss, Frank Darabont, with Stephen King. And it was always good to hear the little stories that they had about him, and how they came to decisions on movies, etc., with Stephen King himself. I've always been baffled yet fascinated with how Stephen King can come up with all these creative stories. I mean, he is a proper writer. He's got the ideas of a genius, really. And what I really like about Stephen King is that a lot of his stories come from everyday life. Like, it might just be, a normal, everyday thing that people do, and it's turned on its head into horror. And seeing how Stephen King came up with these creative ideas was something I always wanted to hear about. However, this documentary, unfortunately, is far from perfect, because there didn't really seem to be an end goal with the documentary. It didn't feel like we were gravitating towards something. It just felt like a mishmash of sections, all just thrown together in some random order. They're like extras on a Blu-ray or something, and the odd interview. It just didn't feel like a very well thought out and edited process. And the biggest chunks of this documentary, like I mentioned, are definitely The Green Mile and The Shining, but they're given like 25 minutes each. And this is only a runtime of 1 hour and 45 minutes for this documentary. And it just felt weird. Couldn't they have, give a fair amount of time to other movies? Like the Never Sleep Again documentary, each movie was given a good chunk of a half an hour slice, including the bad sequels and stuff. I mean, this guy has so many adaptations, and even though it got me interested in some of his movies, like Cujo and stuff, and the Shining miniseries, I came out of this documentary remembering about 6 or 7 things they talk about, or adaptations, should I say. For a guy who has about, 50 adaptations or something like that, I feel like we could have just got a little bit more there. And a lot of the stuff that is talked about here is how the directors, made the movie, basically. And at one point, Frank Darabont is just talking for a while about how amazing Tom Hanks was with Michael Clarke Duncan, and how he helped him bring his performance out and stuff like that. And that was all fine, but it happened way too much. And I was just thinking, they're taking the actual focus of Stephen King away and his input into the story, and just talking about the performances. It was kind of like bonus content from the Green Mile Blu-ray, if you like. I kind of wish this was a longer documentary with a lot more heart and thought put into it, with an end goal and, a sequence of events, really. And I wish we could have talked to a lot more people as well, instead of just the directors of his movie. Stephen King is not interviewed in this documentary either. It just felt like a bit of a wasted opportunity. And this didn't actually feel like a true documentary at times. Like I said, it was a bit of a mismatch. And then there is a epic, big, brilliant documentary about Stephen King that could be made. There is. And I can't wait for it. But this isn't it, sadly. I'm just going to go ahead and rate this documentary now. I'm going to give King on Screen a 6 out of 10. It does have a lot of problems, but it was still interesting enough at times. The bits I did find interesting blew my mind, really, and it hasn't stopped me wanting to watch more documentaries or anything. It just wasn't as good as a few I've seen, and it could have been so much better. Okay guys, I hope you all enjoyed this review. Please leave a comment down below if you've seen this or your favourite Stephen King movies. Let's get a discussion going, and I will try and get back to you all, I promise. If this is your type of content or horror content, please give this video a like and subscribe. It really helped me out. Take care. I'll see you all on the next video.